When we think of horror, we imagine shadows, ghosts, something supernatural. But sometimes the darkest stories are real. Between 1949 and 1951, inside the walls of Pitești Prison, an experiment took place that historians now describe as one of the most brutal psychological re-education programs ever implemented in Eastern Europe. It did not aim to kill quickly. It aimed to erase a human being from the inside out. After World War II, Romania fell under communist control. The regime targeted intellectuals, students, priests, and anyone suspected of anti-communist beliefs. Many of them were young. Many were barely adults. They were imprisoned as political enemies. But imprisonment was not enough. The regime wanted transformation, not obedience, conversion. The experiment was led inside the prison by detainees turned aggressors. The most infamous among them was Eugen Turcanu. The method was simple in theory: break the prisoner completely. It began with physical torture, beatings, sleep deprivation, starvation, but that was only the beginning. What made Pitești different was this: victims were forced to torture each other. Friends beat friends, roommates humiliated roommates. Prisoners were pressured into denouncing their beliefs, their families, their religion, their past. They had to confess to crimes they never committed, then confess again and again, until their identity collapsed. The goal wasn't information, it was annihilation of personality. Victims were forced to publicly insult their parents, blaspheme religious beliefs, invent betrayals, participate in the torture of newcomers. This created a cycle. Victims became aggressors. Aggressors were later broken themselves. Trust disappeared completely. Paranoia filled every cell. Sleep offered no safety. Silence meant suspicion. Survivors later described it as psychological death. Some prisoners suffered permanent mental breakdowns. Some attempted suicide. Some never emotionally recovered. Other prisons used torture. But Pitești refined something far more disturbing: systematic moral inversion. The experiment aimed to turn loyalty into betrayal, turn faith into mockery, turn friendship into violence. It was designed to create the new communist man, not through ideology, but through trauma. Historians now refer to it as one of the most intense brainwashing experiments of the 20th century. In 1951, the experiment was abruptly stopped, not out of mercy, but because it became politically inconvenient. The regime blamed the brutality on the prisoners themselves. Some organizers were later executed, but the system that allowed it remained untouched. For decades, the truth was buried. Survivors were silenced. Families were afraid to speak. Today, Pitești Prison stands as a memorial. Its corridors are quiet. Its cells are empty. But the psychological scars left behind did not disappear when the doors closed. Survivors described nightmares, persistent guilt, identity fractures. Even years later, some could not forgive themselves for what they were forced to do. That is what makes this story different. It isn't about a monster in the dark. It's about what human systems can create. There are no legends here, no urban myths, no ghosts floating through prison corridors, only documented history. The Pitești experiment shows us something terrifying. You don't need the supernatural to create horror. You only need power and a system willing to erase humanity. If this story disturbed you, share it. Not for fear, but for remembrance. Because some horrors should never be forgotten.